A thin white boat runs dark, 400 miles out. No lights. No AIS. $42 million in cocaine under a tarp, and one more surprise, a phone-wired C4 charge set to erase everything, including anyone who boards. Tonight, the Coast Guard hunts with an HC-130J overhead, a cutter in the black, and a SEAL/EOD team ready to solve a booby-trap at sea. How do you stop a cartel's last-ditch detonation without losing the evidence or your team? Stay with me, we'll break the exact sequence that turned a drug bust into a counter-IED fight. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. A white hull with no lights. No AIS. 42 million in cargo on a 1.5 million square mile board, found anyway. How? The hunt starts wide. An HC-130J Super Hercules throws a sensor net across open water, scanning long arcs while a Kimball-class cutter holds the angles. The airframe looks, the ship waits, and a SEAL/EOD element sits quiet until the pattern builds. No radio chatter. No halo of NAV lights. Just black water and time. The target hugs low and fast. The ocean wipes its footprints every second. The crew kills everything that talks, transponder dark, phones in airplane mode, no radar pings. So what betrays them? Not a bright beacon. A mistake in physics. Smugglers go dark to hide in the noise lane. They run low profiles that shed fewer returns, ditch AIS so the tracker grid shows nothing, and steer by burner phones with maps cached to keep cell signals silent. But those choices cast a different shadow. A hull that rides heavy drags a longer tail. A pilot who checks his screen every few beats steers in small, sharp inputs that stamp a rhythm on the water. Silence leaves fingerprints. Long-wave IR catches heat the eye can't. The Super Hercules paints the surface with a cold lens that sees a warm engine block through night air and thin cloud, and the wake glows a few degrees above the sea where the prop churns. Maritime radar plots a faint, steady return that isn't wave clutter, then airborne optics read the swim of the hull, speed that jumps, a heading that tilts under gusts, and a left-right wobble from uneven load. Cloud gaps slice the view, but a single clean pass is enough to tag motion. Down on the deck, the cutter plays geometry. No lights. No siren. The bridge team works bearing drift. If the bearing holds and the range falls, you're on a collision line. They adjust speed to pinch the intercept point, then slide wide to deny any straight shot from small arms. The helo spins up from the deck and climbs for a fast rope of SIT lines. The cutter stays the anvil, the aircraft becomes the hammer. The cues stack. Thermal spot equals hot motor. Wake geometry equals weight and throttle. Erratic bursts equal a driver testing the dark for tails. Each piece on its own is noise, together they make probable cause and keep surprise intact. You don't announce. You tighten the loop. At altitude, the Dolphin breaks the night without overcommitting. A warning burst hits the sea ahead, a stitched row of bright impacts that say stop now without chewing the hull. The gunner keeps the bead low, ready to shift to disabling fire on the outboards, but the rules of escalation hold steady. Show intent. Hold discipline. Force compliance. Here's the answer to the key question. The boat was spotted by a combined radar and infrared search from the HC-130J, then locked by wake analysis and refined by the cutter's fire control tracking. Air found heat and line. Sea held the box. The helo carried the loud option into the last mile. Engines drop to idle, and the white hull slides under the rotor wash. The cutter angles in, dark as before. The sea goes from flat black to harsh white as the spotlight takes over the scene. Voices carry over the slap of water and the whine of cooling metal. The chase is done. But the boarding is not. Under the tarp, past the fuel cans, there's a case wired where hands reach first, and a burner phone that hums when no one is calling. The next move decides whether this deck becomes evidence, or a crater the size of a boat. You board for cocaine and hit a dead man's switch. The sea is your blast wall. What do you cut first? 6 SEALs cross the 6-foot gap in one clean wave. 2 hold overwatch, muzzles low but locked. 2 drive detainees to the bow, hands high, knees on fiberglass. The last pair peel aft, eyes on the console. The crew carried pistols and a short rifle, now kicked away and safetied with flex cuffs. The deck is a mess, tarps slick with spray, red fuel cans bungeed in rows, a hard case lashed tight near the helm. The air stinks of gas and hot oil. Then the tell. A phone vibrates in a taped box under the console lip. Thin wires snake toward the bilge. One crewman moves a hand toward a pocket and freezes at a throat command. No one breathes. On a small boat, any wrong touch is a match dropped in a bottle. Cartels rig boats with simple, ugly logic. A cell phone calls or texts, it closes a relay, and a blasting cap pops the main charge. They add anti-tamper loops, pull a lid, cut the wrong lead, lift the case, and the circuit completes. In tight hulls with fuel vapor, a pound of explosive kicks far above its weight. The deck becomes a drum. The hull turns into blades. EOD works a checklist built for chaos. First, halt motion, cutter holds parallel, helo orbits wide, and the coxswain keeps all props at idle. Next, stabilize the scene, SEALs pin the crew, clear pockets, and lock elbows away from waistbands. Then isolate initiators, phone, radio, any remote that can touch the circuit. Power gets interrupted last, only after you know which battery feeds what, because ripping a line may be the trip. Noise and salt fight you. Rotor wash steals words. Spray makes tape slick, tools slippery, gloves heavy. The tech switches to hand signals, taps a chest cam for record, and uses a non-conductive probe to lift tape edges. He marks each wire with a grease pencil, black for suspected trigger, white for power, red for cap lead, so the team speaks the same map without speech. The choreography is clean and mean. One SEAL holds a clear shield to block fragments. Another covers the engine bay in case someone dumped a second device near the fuel-water separator. Rifles and the sat phone are bagged and tagged. The EOD tech traces the route, phone output hits a relay set in foam, relay jumps to a thin twin lead disappears into a drilled channel under the console plate. He finds the blasting cap crimped into putty, C4 tucked behind a switch bank where a hand would reach first. You could blow it in place and call it sterile. But that wastes evidence, risks holes in the hull, and turns the sea into a lost scene. A contained boat lets prosecutors show a circuit, a charge, and the intent to kill. Still, the squad stages containment, a water charge bag ready, a fire pump on standby, stretchers staged on the cutter's deck. The cut sequence runs like a metronome. First, power source off, pull the dedicated battery lead, not the engine bank. Then antenna blocked, slap a Faraday sleeve on the phone and kill any RF chance. Next, the cap is eased out with a cap crimper and shunted safe. Finally, the booster is separated from bulk explosive, each wrapped in damp towels and sealed. No bang. No leak. The phone sits dead in a foil bag, the relay taped open, the cap tagged and boxed. Now the bricks roll out in rows. Each one weighed, swabbed, and marked. The device gets its own chain of custody, line by line. Viewers get the answer to 2 things that matter. Why the Coast Guard brought SEALs, to beat armed resistance, take the deck fast, and allow a precision disable under threat. And how cartels wire boats, cheap triggers, dirty anti-tamper, and a blast meant to kill a team or erase a hull. This hull is finished. Oil sheens trail in the wake as tow lines bite and 6 prisoners stare at the deck. The real lesson sits in the quiet after the cut, a doctrine born from raids and counter-IED work, now standard on a drug sea. Modern interdiction is now a counter-IED fight with a drug payload. Speed finds the hull. Sensors fix the line. A bomb tech's patience keeps people alive. If you were in the Hello cockpit reading that heat spike, you'd weigh fuel, wind, and arcs that keep you out of small arms range while preserving surprise. If you were the team lead, you'd pace boarding speed against blast risk, evidence, and sea state. What would you cut first on that deck, power, antenna, or cap? Comment your choice below, and if you want the tactics behind operations like this, subscribe now. The hunt restarts at sunrise. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict.